everybody. Welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie, Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie, Jessica.
So it is that time again. It is time for our weekly reading wrap up, aka our bestie book tea. So make sure to grab your favorite beverage. I just have water today.
Coffee.
And your favorite coaster. I have my Off Balance coaster today. Which I don't really
have a coaster.
Your birthday's not till April. And let's sit down and talk about all the books that we read this week. Before we get started, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. If you've seen any of our videos, you'll know that we are giving away the Candy Steiner Belle Book Box edition of Make Me Hate You. It is a signed special edition copy of the book. You cannot purchase it. It comes from the Belle Book Box, so it is an exclusive hardcover. And we're giving this away when we hit 100 subscribers, and we are roughly halfway there now. So we're getting there. We are getting there. So just make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you leave a comment or even an emoji, and that way we know who you are, and we will put you into a drawing once we hit 100 subscribers. Mandy's excited. Look at her.
I am. Yay.
She's over here trying to figure out how she's going to get this book from me. But that's okay. Okay. So Mandy, how was your reading week?
My reading week was pretty good. I had some good reads and I read 8 books.
Okay. So I had some questionable reads. I had an amazing read, and then I had some that were like, but I read 11, and we'll talk about them. So, yeah. So
we are mixing up our bestie book tea format, and we are going to attempt, I'm going to set a timer, and we're going to attempt to talk about all the books that we read, each book for only 1 minute.
Or less. There's some that will definitely be less on my end. But we're trying that because normally we just do 5 books each out of all the books that we read.
And we're still at a really long video.
Yeah, we want to keep the video shorter, and we want to be able to show you guys all the books that we read or talk about them. We're going to do that. And we'll see how this works out. And
I think it'll be fun. And we can also still do like some Q&A discussion between the two of us after the 1 minute recap. So I think this will be fun, and it will hopefully hook you into wanting to read some books, or maybe steer you clear of some books that were misses for us.
Exactly. So before we do that, let's do our weekly reading challenge. So this week we were supposed to read or listen to a podcast. So what podcast did you listen to?
I listened to Webster.
So did I. I think it's because you told me about it, but it was her and Misty Walker, and I didn't even realize that they have a podcast. So that was really fun. And I listened to Kay talk about like the prejudices that she had about, what was it? You were telling me about it too. It was like when people came after her for writing The Wild, but yet that's the same stuff that's on Game of Thrones. I
listened to one. She did it a while ago. Not like years ago. I think it was like 7 or 8 months ago, but it was talking about when she got banned from the world, basically, and just how all that went down. And it was interesting.
Yeah. So it was really cool. I liked listening to that. That was interesting for me. Yes. Okay, so let's see what's in this.
Okay. Dun, dun, dun. You do so much better at opening these.
You say this every week.
I know. Oh, mine's stuck in there. Oh, it feels like a button.
Oh, it's a button. Did you get yours out?
Yes.
Look, it says the book
was better. That is so true, isn't it? It's
always true. That's why I'm really worried about movies or books being made into movies, because the book is always. Okay, so what's our next one?
Okay, our next one is visit your local bookstore and ask a bookseller to recommend a book based on your recent favorites.
I'm nervous about this one. I was just at Barnes & Noble, and I swear I'm going to write a very lengthy letter to Barnes & Noble because they don't carry enough independent authors. You saw my Facebook post yesterday. I was annoyed. We were in Kirkland. We were in Seattle. And I'm like, okay, this Barnes & Noble has got to be better because it's big old Barnes & Noble, right? And I'm in there and I'm like, there is more. I'm not even going to say the author, but there is an author that Barnes & Noble carries that I'm like, there is more to romance than this author. I'm sorry, there is. Carry some independent books. So we'll see what happens. I think we do have an independent bookstore in Fairhaven that I'll go check out and see, but that's where Misha Collins hangs out all the time. So maybe it'll be a 2-for-1. Maybe I'll get to see one of my favorite people from TV and get a book at the same time. That's where I've met him before, is at this bookstore. So
okay. Well, I'm going to have to see if I can find an independent bookstore to go to as well.
I don't know if you'll have one. I think when we go to Love in Seattle, we got to find an independent bookstore in Seattle.
I'm sure there will be one.
I'm sure there's some. Yeah. So.
Okay,
so let's talk books. So you want me to start?
I'm going to get my timer.
Okay. So what I'm going to talk about first is a duet. So it's going to knock mine down to 10 because there's 2 of them. So we're talking about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Go.
Okay. So I read Rise of a Legend and In the Kingdom's Name, both by Amy Jarecki. She is an author that will be at Love in Seattle. So this is about a woman who is a historical journalist. She's from Scotland. This takes place in Scotland. And she travels back in time when she's given a medallion by one of these guys at an archaeological dig and meets William Wallace, like the famed William Wallace. And she ends up spending a lot of time back there. They end up falling in love, which you can tell from the get-go. But if she does anything to change the future, then she gets sent back like immediately. Like this medallion heats up when she knows that she's getting a little too close. And then if something happens, she gets sucked back immediately. This is really good because if you know anything about history, William Wallace was hanged and quartered at the end of his life. He suffered a horrible death. So this whole book, I'm sitting here going, oh my God, how is she going to make this work without changing history? Like, how is this going to happen? But I gave this one 4.5 stars completely across the board. I did get bored in a couple parts, but it was very good.
So we need to read this book to find out how she pulls that off without changing history.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah. It was really good. And the historical aspect of it, like she'd gone and did a lot of historical research to make sure, because Braveheart is not accurate at all. At all. Do not use that as your basis for this book. And I knew that. So she did a lot of history, and it's historically accurate as it can be, because we just don't have a lot of history on William Wallace. But it was so good. It really was. So tell me, okay, set the timer. I need to know about your book.
Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay.
My book was Happily Letter After. It's by Vi Keeland and Penelope Ward. It is about a lady who works for a magazine, and she is in charge of reading the Dear Santa, and magazine grants some wishes. And she gets a letter in June from a little girl. And the little girl had lost her mom to cancer, and she had also lost her mom to cancer when she was about that age. So she feels this connection, this pull to this little girl. And the little girl writes on behalf of her dad as well. Like, she wants her dad to get some new socks, and she also wants like a special friend for her and her dad. Like she would love to see her dad be happy again. And so she decides to go ahead. Sadie goes ahead and grants these wishes. The little girl's name's Birdie. So she starts granting these wishes, and it gets a little out of control. Like, she ends up spying on them and realizes Sadie's dad is good looking. And one day she's trying to distance herself, but one day she ends up in the neighborhood. Oh, dang it. She ends up in the neighborhood, and he catches her, and he's like, "You're late, get in." And she was like, "What?" And she ends up following him into his house, and it turns out he was expecting the dog trainer, and she is like, so like, oh my gosh. So she just pretends to go along and be the dog trainer who trains in German. So she's like making up German words.
No, she didn't.
Trying to train this dog. It is hilarious, but it's very sweet as well. I listened to it on Audible, and it has 2 of my favorite narrators, Sebastian York and Andy Arndt, and it was really good. Highly recommend it.
Okay. I have it on my list of books to read.
It's funny. I mean, when she shows up and pretends to know German to train dog, and she's actually thinking like, oh my gosh, I am like certifiable. Like, she recognizes it but still does it anyway. It's my kind of girl right there, when you know you're crazy but you just keep bringing the crazy. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, set. You could. I don't even know that I need a timer for this next one. The next couple ones, they're not going to be that long, but that's okay. We'll still set the timer.
Ready?
Yeah.
Go.
Okay, so I read When She's Ready by Ruby Dixon. I was actually telling Mandy earlier this week that I realized that there was a bunch of novellas by Ruby Dixon that I hadn't read yet. So this is one of them. So this is a part of her Risdaverse series. This follows, I cannot remember the name of the character, but she is from Hawaii. She's a Hawaiian character. And she is a farmer on this planet. And again, she has to have a husband because people are like banging down on her door. And she's like, I don't want this big blue Masaka guy. And the big blue Masaka guy is like, oh my gosh, this girl is not this skinny little white girl like I've seen everywhere. She actually has curves and she's beautiful. And it's their story that's called When She's Ready because she's not ready to have a relationship and they work on the relationship. But that really is, it's a novella. It's short. It's sweet. It's good. It's just that little hit of Ruby Dixon that I needed during the week this week. So, yeah.
You have 5 seconds.
That's okay. You can just start talking about yours.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready.
Here we go.
Okay.
So my next book is The Air He Breathes by Brittany C. Cherry. This follows Tristan and Elizabeth. Basically what you need to know is this book is very depressing. Everyone dies. Some people are unhinged. It is beautifully written though. So
Everyone does not.
Elizabeth's husband has passed away. Tristan's wife and son were killed in a car accident. Mm-hmm. Nobody's coping well. It's been over a year. They end up being neighbors. There are still some unhinged people in this book. I was depressed. Jessica kept saying, oh, I just love that book. But I'm like, it's so depressing.
I did.
But like I said, it is beautifully written. So if you're wanting to feel some like angsty sadness and live in this world for a while and then have some unhinged characters going on as well, read this book. If you are looking for a happily good time book, skip this one.
But it ends in a happily ever after.
It does, but the book is like really, it's a struggle to read at times. It's so sad.
It was fine. I didn't cry.
Okay.
But we all know that I never cry.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, so ready?
Heart of stone.
Heart of stone, cold-hearted bitch.
Do the Sarah McLachlan commercials make you cry?
Yes.
Oh, so that gets you?
You know me. You know I can cry at the drop of a hat, especially if kids are involved.
Just not the written word.
Just not the written word. I think there's like there's a disconnect because I think I know it's fiction. So I don't know.
Okay, ready?
Ready. I'm ready. Let's do the next one.
Go.
Okay. This one again was a Ruby Dixon novella. So this one was When She's Lonely, and our main character is lonely. She's lonely. The reason why she's lonely is she has she's hard of hearing. She's almost deaf. And if she's afraid that because they had been taken from Earth by peeps, right? Like kept as slaves out in the alien world. She's afraid that if she lets people know that she can't hear, that they're going to hurt her. They're going to send her back into that, or it's going to be something that's going to be a problem. So she just pretends that she can hear everybody, but then everybody's like, she's loud and she ignores us, and she plays dumb. And so she doesn't really have any friends in this new planet where she's trying to farm. So then she meets a guy who's like in charge of all of these girls to make sure that their lives, are good. And he figures it out pretty quickly after spending a little bit of time with her, and they slowly evolve into a relationship. So that was it. I mean, that's it.
My next book is The Choice by Ashley Jade. You really need to read the words by Ashley Jade before you read this book. This is Skylar and Memphis. But I think the words, it is a standalone, but if you read the words, you really are going to understand this book so much better. It's dual point of view. This starts with Skylar and Josh and how they're brothers, but they're not biological brothers, but they're brothers because they're in foster care together and they are all they have. So they feel like they're brothers. So there's like kind of this loyalty between the two of them. Maybe Skylar has a little more loyalty than Josh. They end up next door to Skylar. And Skylar is living in a really horrible situation with her aunt and her uncle. She refused to call her uncle her uncle. She refers to him as Shane because he is horrific to her. And they end up trying to protect her. And this is just their story. Josh basically sees Skylar first, so he gets to lay claim to her. I do not like how Josh treats Skylar, but I understand how they end up together. So this is kind of like teenage times. And we're getting at the end of the book. There's going to be a second book, but Ashley Jade just put out a video saying that she's had a lot of stuff going on and she doesn't have a release date yet, which is so frustrating because I need to know what happens next. But it ends with sort of like you definitely want to read the next book because you know where this is going, but it doesn't leave you like, on a dire cliffhanger. I have to tell you this
couple. Is it the same couple or is it a different couple than the first book?
So the second book is going to be the same couple.
Okay.
So this is like when they meet I think they were 12 or 13 when they meet, and now they're like later teens. They're getting ready to go to college.
So the next book will still be about them.
Yes.
Okay.
But you see part of the relationship at the beginning of the words. Okay. So I really feel like you have to read that book to really appreciate this book. Can I tell you a quote, though? I know I'm way over my minute, but you have to listen to this quote from the book.
Okay.
I want her to ride me harder than a jockey riding their champion horse when approaching the finish line.
Slow clap for Ashley Jade. That is awesome.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That is awesome. I love that.
Okay, Jessica, you ready?
Yeah. So I read another book by Amy Jarecki, again, who's going to be at Love in Seattle. This one is Captured by the Pirate Laird. This one
I really tried hard not to laugh.
I know. This one follows our heroine. She has been betrothed to this man who's like he's 58 or something, and she's 19. And as she's sailing, and she's been married by proxy to this guy, nasty old man. And as she's sailing to go meet him, the boat is taken over by these Scottish pirates, and then they take her for ransom. And so the story is about her and the leader he's a laird of his own people. And so she and him kind of have a thing, but the whole time he's still going to give her back to the guy. I gave it 3 stars. I got really bored in it. The premise was great. Like the idea behind it was great. It wasn't as good as the other book that I read by her. I just couldn't. I had a hard time with it. Again, I was bored.
Okay.
Next.
That worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
Okay, my next book, before I start my timer, you read Kay Webster's new book, The Tangle of Awful.
Yeah.
And you said that the brother is in the book before this, like
the teacher
in a series, basically. So I decided to read that first book based on yours. So that's what I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
Let me get the timer. Here we go.
Okay.
I read The Teacher of Nothing by Kay Webster. This follows Callum, or Mr. Parks, who is Hugo's brother, who's in the book Jessica read, and Willa. Willa is a shy, reserved student in Mr. Parks' class, but Mr. Parks keeps flirting with her a little bit, and he's really like taken with her, and this has never happened to him before, and he beats himself up a lot about this because he is still traumatized, even though he's in his late 30s, that when he was 18, his dad slept with his girlfriend and got her pregnant. So his siblings, they're twins, are actually in the school that he teaches at. So there's kind of this constant reminder because his dad is still married to her. Mm-hmm. And so he just really kind of struggles with like, I'm not going to be like my dad. There's no way I have an attraction to this younger girl. Like, no way. Well, Willa has a stepbrother, Levi, and a stepdad. And Levi, dang it, is just awful to her. And Callum kind of comes to her rescue. And that's how their relationship starts. I absolutely love this. This was a 5-star like favorite read for me.
I love it. I can't wait to read it. It's on my list of things to read.
Yes,
So,
which
I mean,
I felt like there had to be a book about what happened to Callum and his dad.
I know, that was
And
my
it's
thing too.
referenced a lot in this book, but I felt like there needs to be a book about this. Like, and I'm like, are you sure, Jessica? I feel like I'm missing something. And Jessica's like, I really don't think there is.
No.
Which led me down the K Webster podcast
Rabbit
thing
hole.
in search of it, and I couldn't find anything.
And
It does talk about it. Oh, sorry.
I do need to ask, like, in our group, because I'm in a part of her K club. I do need to ask in our group if that's been talked about. She'll answer. But I'm very curious as to whether or not she's going to write a book about that, because I would love to read that book.
Yeah, it's dealt with quite a bit in this book, but it's also from the perspective that this is like almost 18 years later, and he's still kind of hung up on what his dad did.
Yeah, because they even talk about it in the next book, in the Tangle of Awful. It is brought up quite a bit, and he's still having issues with his dad at that point. So, yeah. So, okay. All right, this next one for me is going to be really short. I don't even know that I need the timer.
Oh, I'm going to set it, though.
Okay, you said it. I probably want
to. Oh, speaking of timing, did you see that Grace McGinty has a new book coming out?
The one that I just got this week? Crave? She's had one that came out 2 weeks ago, and then she had one that came out this week.
Oh, okay. I'm assuming it's a reverse harem. Yeah, okay.
That's all Grace really writes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then she's got another one that she's working. Like, she quit her full-time job to be an author full-time, and so she's cranking them out.
Sweet. That's going to keep you happy. So I'm glad we started a time limit on our Bestie book.
You say that, but who's got over the timer every time?
Damn it, it's
It's okay.
It's me. Oh, we should play that Taylor Swift song. It's me. I'm the problem.
Not a problem. Okay, so
you talked one time for 10 minutes about a book, and I blame you every time. But clearly it's me.
I love it. Okay, ready?
Ready, go.
Okay, so then I read Ruby Dixon's Risdaverse Tales. This is the first 3 novellas in the Risdaverse series. It has 3 different stories. It's pretty much the same as the other ones that I've read. They end up with big blue people. They do. These women have been taken. One of them is like going to be the leader of like the group of people on the planet. He's there to make sure to take care of all of those girls. They're good. They're just little palate cleansers, and I needed that this week. I really did. So there was 3, and I think there was 3 in there. There might have been 4. I don't even remember all 4 of them because it was like boom, boom, boom. So, ta-da! If you like rubies, then you go read these because they're the Ice Planet barbarian people, just not on an ice planet. They're on a farming planet. Okay, you can go back now. I don't have anything else to say.
Okay.
I'm reserving all my minutes for a book later.
You want me to keep tally like every time?
Yeah, I have a few extra seconds for one that I read later this week. That would be great.
When we get to my last book, I'm not going to be allowed to talk.
Fun. Okay,
here we go.
Okay.
So my next book is The Tangle of Awful by K. Webster because I love The Teacher of Nothing. So I went right into The Tangle of Awful. It was about Spencer, who is the son, and Hugo, who is the dad. Spencer is still in high school. Aubrey is the stepdaughter, who's the same age or right around the same age as Spencer, and Willa, who is in the book I just talked about. And Aubrey shows back up. She's been gone for 2 years, and she kind of has a thing for Spencer, but oh goodness, she also kind of has a thing for Hugo, the dad. This was a mind bleep. Hugo has a wife, Mia, who's MIA, and that Mia and MIA, that's funny. It's brought up in The Teacher of Nothing that she's been gone, but she keeps using her credit cards. So Hugo's kind of frustrated because he wants to run for attorney general, and he's just waiting for her to like show back up and screw everything up for him. There's so many twists and turns. It's insane. It's taboo. I really didn't think I was going to like it because of, I like my books with like, if there's multiple people involved, I want two people to end up together. And this book is not like that at all. And so I was like, I'm probably not going to like this. And I ended up loving it because there was so much other insane stuff happening in this book that Spencer and Hugo both being into Aubrey is like the least of what's happening.
I'm telling you. Yeah. But it was so good.
So good.
It took me. It like the twist at the end, I did not see them coming at all. And normally I could see them coming.
It was so good. And then there's a third book coming out that's going to feature the other brother, Jude. And there's like a little sample at the end of that book. I am wanting Dempsey, who's Hugo and Callum's brother from Callum's ex-girlfriend.
This is like a soap opera.
It's going to be so crazy. He kind of like, there's a setup where he has a thing for Sloane, the police officer who's older than him. And so Jessica and I have been talking about this, that we think that that might end up being a book where like Sloane's the older woman and he's the younger guy. And that book I would be all over. So
I don't know that I'm not that excited for the next book for personal reasons, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Jude's kind of an interesting character, so I don't really know. Anyway,
okay,
ready?
I'm ready. So then I read Between Hello and Goodbye by Emma Scott. So this is about Faith. Faith lives in Seattle. She is like this big ad exec, or she works for an ad agency, but she is a party girl and she doesn't take anything seriously. And they want to make her partner, but her bosses at the ad firm told her, you know what? Get your crap together, take 2 weeks, go on a vacation, decide if you really want to be partner, because we need you to have your crap together. And so, decide, like, time to grow up, basically. So she goes to Hawaii. She actually goes to one of the smaller islands. She goes to Kauai. And on her first day there, she's hiking up this volcano, or these waterfalls. It's the waterfalls that everybody wants to go to in Kauai. And she slips and twists her ankle and cannot get down the waterfall. And so the paramedics are brought in. And that is when she meets Ash, who is her firefighter paramedic. And they have to like evacuate her out like in a basket kind of thing. And Ash decides that he's going to check in on her and help her out. And that's what he does. He checks in on her to help her out because she's there for 2 weeks and she can't move. And their relationship kind of evolves from there. So it was good. I gave it 4 stars. Yeah, it's broken into 3 sections because big things happen throughout the book that you don't see coming at all. So yeah.
Okay, my next book is The Bet by Max Monroe. This is the first book in the Winslow brothers. I've read one of the other ones and I enjoyed it, so I was hoping I would really like this one. It ended up being a 3.5-star read for me. And I think I listened to this on Libby, and I think it might have had to do with the narrator. The female narrator, Tanya Ebby, is just not my favorite female narrator. And so I don't know if the narration is what made me irritated with Sophie, or if it was just Sophie in general, or if it was a combination. But I just found myself annoyed with Sophie throughout most of the book. Sophie just kind of wants love and marriage. And she goes to her sister's bachelorette party, and they're twins, they're identical, and her sister is very shy and does not want to do the lap dance and all that stuff. So they switch places, and Jude is the guy who runs these promotions and these clubs, and he's there and he makes a bet, hence the name, with the other exotic dancer, dang it, that he can get more tips than him. And so he ends up being the dancer, and there's just some sparks that fly, and he's very confused about his feelings for this like woman who's about to get married. And they end up running into each other, and he's like, congratulations on your wedding. And she's actually on a date, and he's like, what, you're married? So there's some funny parts to it because he doesn't realize that they were twins and that they had switched. But yeah, it just fell a little flat for me though.
Okay.
But it was funny. I think it might have been better if I would have read it than listened to it. I think the narration kind of did it in.
There's been times when I've read books like that where one of the narrators, if it's dual narration, one of the narrators doesn't do it for me. And so then I will listen to like the chapter of the narrator that does do it for me. And then I will stop and I will read the POV chapter of the one that I can't stand. Then I will listen and I go back and forth like that. Because it ruins it otherwise. It'll ruin the book. The wrong narrator ruins the book. That's why authors should really look at their narrators. The wrong narrator will ruin your book.
After I listened to it, I saw somebody else had like basically the same review as me, that they just didn't care for that narrator.
There's been narrators that I've listened to, like where it's like typically it's a male narrator, and he sounds way older than he should. And I'm like, why did you choose this person? He doesn't. He sounds like some old man reading this young guy's POV. It doesn't make sense. Why? Why are certain narrators chosen? Seriously, it should always be Teddy Hamilton. Done. Always.
Oh, I like Sebastian York, Jacob Morgan.
They're good. Teddy Hamilton is my number one. Always. Always. So, yeah. Thor Tom is good too. Okay, ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Okay, so my next book is Endless. It's by Kaylene Winter. This is a rock star romance. We met Kaylene Winter last summer when we went to Seattle for a book signing. We will see her again this spring at Love in Seattle. I wanted to like this just because she is a local author. I love that she talks about the certain towns and things in the state of Washington. I was bored. It just, oh my gosh, the way they talked. The dialogue, it was like pages and pages and pages and pages of dialogue trying to explain things. It's like you have to find that happy medium between dialogue and explaining things. Like, right? Like, because we've read it opposite before. I gave it 2 stars, and only because I liked her talking about certain areas. It's just, oh my gosh, I can't even start. Like, I can't rant for a minute on this because it's horrible. It was horrible. I was so bored. It read like a child's book. I couldn't. The dialogue was horrible. I wish the other ones would be read better. I'm so sorry. So sorry.
And my next book was an Audible listen by Kennedy Ryan. It was her new one. It's an Audible short, Coming Home. This is about Teray and Naomi. They kind of had this little bit of a thing in college, and now it's like, I think about 20 years later. And he is coming back to this college because his daughter is there and she's homecoming queen. He's kind of had a rough relationship with his daughter. He's been very busy. He's a journalist. He travels a lot. And so he hasn't really been there for his daughter. And Naomi is coming back because she's going to interview him because he's this award-winning journalist and she's on a talk show in the morning. And so it's kind of this big homecoming thing. They both went to school there. And this is kind of them coming back together. It felt a little like college, high school reunion like, and I don't know if I really liked that particular vibe, but the story was cute. I'm used to Kennedy Ryan's writing though. I love her as an author and she writes a lot longer books. And so the short was definitely a different feel, but it was a fantastic, quick listen.
Okay, so this next book that I read is Unseen Messages by Pepper Winters. It is a thick one. This is one of her only standalone romances. So this is about Estelle and Galloway, and this is about the messages that we see every day that we don't pay attention to. So Estelle is on her way home back to Australia from a tour in the US. Her friend released a YouTube video of her singing and it went big, and so she was on a tour. And as she's getting to the airport, there's all these messages, like she's having problems with her ticket. She's having problems at customs. She's having problems here. And she's like, I should have paid attention. Long story short, the plane crashes in the Fijian Islands. And so she and Galloway are 2 people who are on that flight. She sees him. They kind of have a little cute meet cute thing in the airport. And they are 2 of the survivors. There's 2 other survivors as well. But they have to survive on this island. In Fiji. And there's what I loved about this is these guys, sometimes when you read more stories like this, they're like, oh, well, he was like a survivalist trainer or whatever. You don't get that with this one. These are just 2 people who don't know, like he's an architect, but that's about it. They don't have tools. There isn't like a fresh lagoon that they find full of water. Like you don't have that. This is a true survivalist romance. This is going down as one of my all-time favorite books. I cannot stop thinking about this book. And guys, it made me cry several times. So if that doesn't make you want to read it, I don't know what will. But because that's why I texted you and I was like, if I tell you that a book makes me cry, does it make you want to read it or not want to read it? But oh my gosh.
I know. I called you once and you're like, I just can't right now. I'm rude.
I just finished it. Just read the triggers because obviously it is survival. There is a lot. My neighbor's actually from Fiji and I'm messaging her going, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize they got poisonous snakes in the water. they got all sorts of things. So, yeah. I just, all-time favorite. Still,
I'm going to have to read this now.
It does not have audio, though. It is big and long.
My next book is The Right Move by Liz Tomforde. It is the second book in her Windy City series. Mile High was fantastic favorite read for me. And this is Ryan, who is Stevie's brother. They're twins, and this is Ryan and Indy's story. Indy comes home from one of their flights and finds her boyfriend of 6 years in bed with another woman. She is devastated. He ends up getting to keep the apartment. She feels like he keeps everything in their life, and she has nowhere to go. Stevie begs Ryan basically to let Indy live with him, and he very reluctantly agrees. This book has all the tropes. It's basketball, brother's best friend, fake dating, roommates, but it does not feel like you're checking off those tropes. In fact, as you read this book, you don't feel those tropes happening because it just occurs so naturally in the book, which is just a testament to Liz's fantastic, brilliant writing. Ryan just became the captain of his NBA team, and the general manager is very concerned about him being captain because he lives a very closed off, guarded life that is just all basketball. And so he finds out from one of his friends on the team that basically he needs to be more of a family guy. The general manager is looking for camaraderie, like that sort of thing. And a spur of a moment, Indy happens to show up and he's like, I do have a girlfriend. This is my girlfriend. And so they kind of agree to this fake dating thing. Basically, Indy breathes life back into Ryan, and Ryan helps Indy feel very valued. It's a very sweet, wonderful book. And it's a little bit longer. I think it was 428 pages, but it doesn't feel like that. And it's just written so beautifully. I absolutely loved it. It was a 5-star read for me.
So wasn't the first book hockey?
Yes. So in Mile High, Xander's is a hockey star, and Stevie and Indy are two of the 3 flight attendants that fly everywhere with them to their games. And so Stevie's brother, Ryan, is an NBA star. And then book 3 is going to be about a baseball star.
Okay. So we're getting different sports for each one. That's kind of cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. My turn.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Go.
Okay. So because I read such a huge book that I knew was going to give me a book hangover, I had to read something that I already knew that I loved, that I've read before. So then I read my always go-to, which is The Golden Dynasty. I read this like 4 or 5 times a year. Love this book. So this is about Cersei, who wakes up in like this holding pen, and she's in a different world. So this world is parallel to ours. You have a twin in that world, and she swapped places with that twin. She has no clue what's going on. She's there for the bride hunt. And so this is basically like Game of Thrones, Dany and Khal Drogo, just so much better. And so she gets taken as the bride to the leader of this horde warrior, and this is their story. This is again a long one, but this is one that I go to all the time. It's rough because there's rape in the first part of the book, but eventually she learns their ways, and she learns like how to live with them. It's just, I love it. It's an always a favorite read. So I had to do a reread so I didn't get stuck into a book slump, because Unseen Messages was putting me in a book slump. That's all I could think about. So that's what I read.
So what was your favorite read of the week?
Unseen Messages.
Okay.
I mean, the thing of it is like, you and I do our top 5 of the month. I don't include books that have been rereads for me because they're already top reads. I already know that they're going to be top reads because I've already read them so many times. Like they're a comfort go-to read all the time. I don't include those in that because I've already talked about those. So, but yeah, Unseen Messages, just, oh my gosh.
Mine was The Choice by Ashley Jade.
Yeah. So you have one more book though, right?
No, that's why I asked you what your favorite read was. Okay. I'm sorry.
I have one more book.
Okay.
One more.
Ready?
So let's do it real quick. Yes, you've already read this book.
Ooh, I have?
You have?
I hear about it.
I hear about it all the time. I kind of agree with you on it. Okay.
Okay, go.
So I read Hearts in the Darkness by Laura Kay. Yeah. So this is the one. So this one is Caden and McKenna. They get stuck in an elevator. in their building or in her building. He's a firefighter and she's an accountant of some kind of forensic accountant. They don't see each other. Like he can see that she has red hair before they get in because it's like not only they get stuck in the elevator, the lights are out in the elevator. So they can't see each other at all. She was looking down, she didn't see him. But as they're stuck in the elevator, he has some claustrophobia issues, but they have a connection and they start to get it on with each other in the elevator. I know a lot of people talk about this as a great book. I didn't get it. I give it 3 stars. I didn't get it. I'm like, you just met him and you're just going to climb him like a tree? I mean, granted, there are people out there that if I meet, I might climb like a tree. But still, like this, I didn't get it at all. At all. At all. So, but this is a part of a duet. There's a second book. I didn't read the second book because I just wasn't thrilled. The writing and stuff was fine. It wasn't for me.
That's how I felt too. I had heard other people talk about it, and it was a 3-star read for me as well. Yeah. I really liked the idea of the book.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was really cool. It was very unique. But yeah, I kind of struggled with that too. Like, yes, they're in the elevator for hours, but still, like, it was kind of weird. Yeah. And then, yeah, I didn't read the next book either.
Maybe that's the problem. We didn't read the next book.
I don't know.
I don't really feel like
it just wasn't. I mean, there's so many books on my TBR that if I'm not super into a book, I'm not going to keep reading.
Exactly. 100%. So, all right, guys. So that is all that we have for you guys today. Let us know if you liked this little 1-minute thing that we did, because it really helped us get through our books.
Yes.
A lot faster, which is great. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below to be entered into our drawing that we're going to do when we hit 100 subscribers. I can't talk, obviously.
Yes, and it is our road to 1K giveaway. So after 100, we have more things coming out. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and tell your friends to. And check back Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for more videos from us.
And until then,
go read.